16 to 11, 105.7 ABC Darwin, 106.1 FM in Catherine. And as the black mould creeps over more and more surfaces around the top end, clothes, boots and belts, walls, is your household getting more and more miserable, depressed, or even aggro? Now, this I just found really interesting. I know we talk about mould every year with the solutions to get rid of it and so on, but there are apparently documented links between mould and depression and or aggression. Heike Neumeister-Kemp is a mycologist, which translates to mould expert. She joins us this morning. Hello, Heike.
Good morning, Julia.
This was documented in a medical paper some years ago, and you've seen this yourself, I believe, with people that you help out. Can you give us an example of what sort of things happen?
Yeah, okay. We are a company that identifies mold. We help people to find out what their problem is and how to fix it, and then we work with remediators to tell them how to. So we are in contact virtually every day with people who are in moldy homes, dwellings, houses. And what we experience, and we're doing this since more than 10 years, is many people over time, when they're exposed long-term to mold, they get either aggressive or they get depressed. And what research found out is that the off-gassing, the fungi breathe like you and me, and what they breathe out are called mycotoxin. And those mycotoxin actually key in with our little neurons, our nervous system, and they influence it. It's like a chemical attack to our body. And those chemical attacks can result in that people get depressed or aggressive. So when we then go and try to help people, there is immediately short-time memory loss. People just can't remember what we just told them. They then get really grumpy, like I asked for direction and the guy just threw the map book at me, which normally he wouldn't. Or people get really, really depressed. A lot of relationships deteriorate over time when people are long-term in moldy dwellings. We also can see a lot of aggression, like in single men's quarters, where air conditioning could be very moldy. We experience when that then gets cleaned. Suddenly people are much more open to discussions and the aggression goes away.
How does that show itself? You've got an experience of a mining camp with this happening?
Yes, we, as a part of what we do is we clean out mining camps. It can be any type of camp. And we went there and every night they had fights. And people would just, after they gone to the mess, start arguing and start very randomly being aggressive to each other.
Beating each other up?
Sometimes they would beat each other up. Most of the time it was just violent words. I mean, people still stay civilized, but it was very, very aggressive. And some of the people would not join the group at all because they would go into the depressive mode. Now, when then the camp was cleaned up, it was very, very interesting. A lot of people reported, A, they slept much better, B, they needed much less asthma medication, but then also the aggression between the workers really, really stopped. And we got letters from them to say, wow, we had no idea how much of an effect it does.
And was that camp particularly mouldy, obviously mouldy, or was there something in the air conditioning?
No, it was sitting in the split air conditioning system, and this wasn't anything bad. This was just simply the maintenance hadn't been kept up, and over time those air conditioners had gone more and more mouldy. So you don't need to have everything black to have the effect. For example, simply the air conditioner in your car. If you have the car switched off the minute where the air conditioner switches off, it doesn't dry out and then mold forms. And every time you go in the car, you get hit with a massive amount of mycotoxins from the mold. Or simply your home air conditioner. And it's not just about air conditioning. It can be in your subfloor. It can be in between your walls. We have a lot of exposure to mold, especially if it rains like it does at the moment. We have exceptionally high rainfall, we have high humidity, we have very warm conditions, and that's ideal for mold to grow.
Well, that's exactly what's going on up here at the moment, Heike, and we've got people who are really struggling with mould. I've got one friend who's moved house twice to get away from the mould. That's really extreme. But is this link between mould and depression and or aggression well known enough?
No, there's not enough talk. If you go to a GP and say, look, I'm aggressive, and, this is because I have mold, they probably just think you're a lunatic. There's not a lot of research done. There's a couple of papers coming out of the USA, which is great, They did research after Hurricane Katrina that more people actually suicided than actually died of the impact from the storm because of the moist and moldy condition. So they're always very careful. They say it is damp housing and mold. They don't just say it's mold because scientists need to be careful. But there's a lot of evidence. And I think, unfortunately, there's not enough published of what we say case studies, where you see family in a moldy home, husband and wife, more and more problems. He often gets aggressive, she gets depressed. Then you clean the environment up, and suddenly all those symptoms cease. And I have literally hundreds of those cases where people really report how their mood changes by cleaning up the environment.
Okay, I'm really interested in the air conditioner side of things. Can you get that mold out of your air conditioner by cleaning it yourself, or do you need to get professionals in?
You need to get professionals in.
It's internal.
The problem with the air conditioning, there's two types of air conditioning. There's wall-mounted split systems, and those have a fan in the barrel, and as a layman, you wouldn't know how to pull it apart. The other thing, too, is when you get maintenance done, the people who do maintenance, they don't often know how to clean. So what you need to do is get a professional cleaner in and also look very carefully at the products. For example, we use bioenzymes because they coat the surface, and then for a long time it stays clean. If you just put harsh chemicals on, you deteriorate the surface because a split system is meant to be moist to cool the air down. So it is a very technical process, and it should be done by a professional.
What about getting rid of the mold on your walls and your wardrobe and so on? Are you an oil of cloves advocate?
Okay, oil of clove works. The problem with oil is it leaves a residue, and eventually when the antifungal property out of the clove is gone, the oily residue actually gives a surface or a nutrition for the fungi to then grow. That's why I'm an advocate of actually HEPA vacuuming it and then treating it with a 70% vinegar solution. So you have 70 milliliters of vinegar and 30 milliliters of water. If you want the formula, go on our website. It's mycolab.com.au, or with a 20% methylated spirit solution. Very important is, when you have that on your walls or things, you need to really assess how much of it is there. If it is bigger than 2 hands, then again I would say bring an expert in, because that is then more a systemic problem. So you most likely have underlying moisture coming into the house.
Yep, and bleach doesn't work?
No, bleaches. It takes the color out of the fungi, but the fungi is still there. Like your skin, you have melanin in the fungi, and you have melanin in your skin to get the suntan. And the bleach takes this melanin out, and the fungi is still there. And then, of course, the fungi feeds off the bleach. So, for example, if you take Moldex in your bathroom, you spray it on, it's gone. 6 weeks later, it come back, and you go and buy another bottle.
You're feeding it. Oh, yeah, that's cunning, isn't it?
So that by bleach is not useful for mold remediation.
Fascinating to talk to you, Heike. So many new things we've learnt today, and it's very topical at the moment. Thank you so much for joining us.